Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Fuzzy Memories from the Road. I am Dustin Pari, and with me as always is the lovely and talented Miss Brandy Green. And today we're going to France, indeed. So Miss Brandy Green, I trust you have the case files for these places?
I do. I mean, I was the case manager after all.
Makes sense. You had to sit in a different car in the back seat all the time, but yeah.
Every episode. So the first place we went to was Bordeaux. So lots of wines. I remember doing another wine outing.
Another wine outing.
That never made air.
If you're counting, we should have a wine counter. It just keeps filling up the bottle.
Tally.
Dear Lord.
So this one was Chateau Lagorche. It was a really cool looking place. It was built in like the 1400s or something. Like it had a lot of history to it.
Yeah, it had a lot of history. It had a lot of, and it was beautiful too. Like the land around it was beautiful. It had a little cavern system underneath.
Oh yeah, I remember the caves at this place. Definitely.
And there was an old tree that was like some historic tree in the backyard.
Yeah, I can't remember what kind of tree it was, but it was this ginormous tree that was kind of out on their back patio area.
Yeah.
Kind of they had this really huge staircase, like the stone staircase in the back that led down into, I think they used to have like swimming pools or a moat or
yeah, I think there were pools there.
something.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
And so the tree was this huge thing that I don't know what the history of it was, but apparently
It's
it was
gone
super
now.
old.
Barry sent me an email. I remember Barry sent me an email saying that he was in contact with someone over there, and the tree, if I remember correctly, got hit by lightning, so it's gone. So much for the tree.
Oops.
Whoops. At least we get to see it.
Okay, well then forget about the tree.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that this location, it was owned at some point in time by a German general during World War II or something, because there was like a Nazi time. We did a lot of Nazi stuff on the show.
We really did. And then we even did like the Argentina episodes where we're still looking for Hitler. I'm like, when does this end? It's always cold, it's always wet, and we're always surrounded by Germans somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the number of Nazi-related EVP sessions that I've done, way more than anyone should ever probably.
You always try to call out devils and Nazis, which I guess are kind of one of the same. So there you go.
Yeah. I wonder if I could add that to my resume.
You
like
should.
Experience in...
Right. Talking with dead Nazis and demons.
Yeah. Okay, so this chateau, it had like a number of claims. Our client, he was not French. He was actually British.
Yeah.
I think
a little stuffy.
I had a hard time connecting with this guy. He was he was a little snooty to us Americans.
Yeah, he was tough.
But I think his family had owned it, and then somehow he ended up like becoming the owner, like passed down to him.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So he was like having it renovated and remodeled because they had plans to reopen it as like an event center and like a bed and breakfast kind of thing. Yeah. And so I remember there were claims of like the typical voices and different noises and feelings of like unease and all that kind of stuff. I think there was like object manipulation or something here too.
In the bedrooms and stuff, because that's one of the places we stayed at.
Right.
And we filmed in our rooms like that night and stuff. I remember that.
Right.
Night attack or something? Was there like a night attack? Was there like a night attack story or something?
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, I think Angela had had an experience when we were staying there overnight. She felt like she was being pressed down to the bed, but she said she was fully awake. Like
Yeah.
she knew what was happening. She like couldn't move.
Right.
And I know that when it got mentioned to the client, and I cannot remember his name, he was actually shocked because he said that he had had a girlfriend that had stayed there for a while with him, and she had had the same experience, but it was in a different room at the time. Because I remember he was like, I didn't tell you guys about that because with everything else, I totally forgot. But it kind of validated what
That
she had
experience.
experienced.
Yeah.
Right.
You could open it up like a very limited like place for like an S&M B&B, like, you know, like a safe word, like baguette, like, I don't know, something
I'm
French.
sure there's a market for it.
There probably is. I'm sure people would be like, oh, good, this will be fun. Bring your whips, change, and safe words, kids. We're going to France. This was, all right, so I have two very strong memories of this place.
Okay.
One was, it was, and again, not a fault of production because sometimes things don't translate very well in terms of audio quality. But I remember I believe it was you and Angela that were in the cavern system, and you had like what sounded like a really loud growl, like a very loud audible growl. And I remember like listening to it, and it was like, this is like crazy, and playing it for the guy, and it was impressive. But then on TV, it was like a lion to like a kitten. I was like, like that's not frightening at all.
No, there was so much audio degradation, like through the transfers and stuff. By the time it hit the actual episode that made air, there was like very little left of it, which is a shame. And you know, I always kind of wish that I had actually made copies of some of the footage. I know we weren't supposed to, but for that purpose, like there was a lot that was lost because of that.
Yeah.
But I really remember the cave system probably more than I do really investigating the chateau itself. Like I feel like you and I investigated together at some long corridor that wasn't even really a part of the original tour or something. But it
sounds about right.
No, I don't think it ever made air.
Yeah.
But then Angela and I, like you said, we went down into the cave. And I think that the story with the cave was that they had actually, despite this place at one time being owned by a German general, they actually were hiding people that were fleeing persecution down in that cave system. And there's like a lot of graffiti down there from like the 1930s and stuff. And so when we were down there, we had gotten an EVP of what sounded like a woman saying leave or get out or something like that. And then we were moving further into the cave. It was myself, Angela, and Snapper, our camera guy. And he was also running audio. So again, bonus, because it was only 3 people.
Right.
And all of a sudden I got really like sick. Like I felt like I was like on a roller coaster or something. And I don't normally get the feelings, you know?
Hi, I'm Brandy. I don't have feelings.
I'm dead inside. I mean,
that's how that dating profile is looking.
No, but I really like I had to sit down. I was feeling so off. And later on, when we were going over the footage, we discovered that growl you talked about. And I think actually it came through Snapper's earpiece even.
Yeah.
Because I remember, and I wasn't feeling right, so I didn't like pay too much mind to it. But I remember Snapper like kind of pulling his earpiece out a little bit. And then in retrospect, it made sense why. Right. But I remember none of you guys shared that piece with me until we actually sat down at the review table, and I heard it for the first time, and I was shocked. Like it was very unexpected.
It was. Because I mean, you hear stories of stuff like that, and you hear some things, and like you wonder what's real and what's not. But when you actually record it, And it really, I mean, out of all the growls that I've heard over the years, that was the most impressive one. And I was so excited for the viewers to be able to see it and to listen to it, you know, on the show. And then it was just so poorly transmitted.
And it was a very like menacing, deep, guttural
Yeah.
growl. It was
Yeah.
very disturbing,
Right.
which kind of didn't sit well with me. This is one of the places where when we did the reveal with the client,
Mhm.
and you know, you guys are showing him all of the stuff, and then he asked, you know, wow, like after hearing the growl, after hearing the get out, after hearing about the, you know, pressure on the chest and all of this stuff, he's like, well, should I be concerned? You know, like opening this place up to
Right.
the public. And the GHI team had stated, no,
It's fine.
don't be afraid. Everything seems to be friendly and enjoying your company. And I remember sitting back going,
That doesn't quite add up. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I don't know.
funny enough, I just like a couple years ago, I remember I posted a picture, one of the pictures that I had taken at Chateau. And like I did the hashtag like GHI, Ghost Hunters International, whatever. I put that on Instagram, and they messaged me back and they were pissed.
Really?
They were so mad. They're like, we're not haunted. We don't want to be associated with that. And I'm like, well, you do realize like it's out there. Like it's
right.
on an international television show.
Somebody knows.
So
Lord.
I'm saying it here, Chateau Lagorge, we deemed it haunted.
Right. That show, and maybe this will help redeem it. Chateau Lagorge, the last decent bath that I've had. And it doesn't mean I don't bathe all the time. I shower all the time. But that was the last place that I actually took a very nice bath and really enjoyed myself there. I was getting an Adobe update. I apologize. I had to cancel that out. But I remember, because we had to stay there, the room that I selected, and like I think I wrote a story about this in one of my books because it was so remarkable. I'm 6'1", and like I can't fit in a normal bathtub. Like either like, you know, I'm sitting like this, like my knees are out, but like my chest is in, or like my nips are out. So like knees or nips are always cold, and that is not a relaxing bath. But at the chateau, I had these doors that opened up to that fancy tree. And I remember there was a storm that night, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm just sitting there nice and comfortably. And I've got the big tub, and I had candles, and I had bubbles, and I was fully submerged, and I couldn't have been happier. It was the best bath I've ever had in my life.
I was super uncomfortable in my room. I had like a weird upstairs room that like it was like you know, like a renovated attic space, so that like the ceilings were like this. It was horrible. My toilet didn't work.
Yeah. Should have called Jan Grant. We had that plumbing connection back home. It worked out fine. Dear Lord, I like the chateau. It was a good case, and it was a really cool place.
Yeah, and it looks like they're doing. It's like a wedding venue now.
Right. But so it's not haunted.
It's not haunted, guys.
Oh Lord, what else do we do in France?
One thing I do remember too at this place. It just popped into my head.
Oh boy.
So it was really cold, shocking, and because we went during the off season or whatever for this place, and I honestly don't know who, it may have been Barry, but I'm not sure, had locked the keys inside of one of the vans, one of the GHI, one of the picture vehicles.
Oh yeah.
And Ethan, he was our AC.
It was AC, yeah.
He at the time, and he he had to go out there. He had no gloves. He had just a sweatshirt on, and like it was like 20 degrees outside and raining and sleeting. It was horrible. And he has like this coat hanger, and he's just standing out there for like 2 hours trying to like pop
Trying
the
to get the
lock.
lock.
Oh my God. And then we had, do you remember we had, she was new. She was like a production assistant. I think she was only with us until like Latvia, and then she disappeared. But she always wore those really low pants, and no matter what she was
But
doing,
you always saw
where
her
she
butt.
was, you
That
always
was the
saw her
ukulele
butt.
girl. Yeah.
Yes,
She played the ukulele and you could always see her bum crack.
yes, all the time, and she
Yeah.
knew, and she didn't
Yeah.
care.
No, that was her look. That was her gimmick. Most people are like, look at my breast cleavage. She was like, look at my butt cleavage. This is what I'm showing you. Hey, be proud of what you're proud of. You know, it's fine. It's all
Oh,
good.
there you go. That's Chateau Lagorge, Buttcracks and wine tasting.
Yeah, and not the other way around. Where else did we go in France? For the love
Oh,
of
okay.
God.
So then we jumped from Bordeaux to Paris.
Was there an outing at Bordeaux? Did you go somewhere? I didn't go anywhere. I think I was just depressed.
So yeah, actually in Bordeaux, before we went to Paris, we on a day off, which again, like
get
we
one.
talked about, is
Yeah.
a whole day. We went to this little town. It was called Saint-Emilion, and had like this really cool monolithic church, and it had like a history that dated back to like the Neolithic period, and it was a really cool place. And I just remember walking through, and they had in the back alleys, they had big garbage bins, like really big ones. They weren't dumpsters, but they were like the round ones, and they were filled with empty wine bottles. Like, and they're just everywhere.
It sounds very stereotypical here.
Very, very. Yeah.
I guess I just stayed in my tub all day. I was probably so happy I didn't want to leave the chateau.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a good choice.
Probably. I wouldn't blame you. I mean,
No.
I would have changed rooms with you. We could have switched.
Right. Well, it's not often I get a nice tub, so leave me alone.
Yeah, so that was Bordeaux. And then we move on to Paris for the back end of this episode. And I know we tried to get into the catacombs.
Oh yeah.
We couldn't get the clearance from the city or whatever. They didn't want to let us in there.
Right.
And so we still did the underground, but it was like the quarried section.
Yeah, where the bones are, yeah.
Yeah, and well, I do remember though, after we were down there, then the next day when we would go over footage and they would shoot B-roll, the crew, Steve Purcell, I remember him telling me that he was he was like shooting B-roll in there, and he found actually the connection to the catacombs.
Oh wow.
So we were so close.
You should let him investigate. What the heck?
Yeah.
Down there.
But I just remember there were a lot of low-hanging rocky edges.
Yeah. We also did this case during the day.
Yeah, because it didn't matter. We were
underground. Yeah, it was
super far down there.
Yeah. So we actually filmed this one during the day, which was great when you come out, because then it was like just like later in the day, but it was like, oh, we've been down here all day. It's fine.
Right. What I remember about this one, I think we debunked everything.
Really angry client.
He was a very difficult person.
Yeah.
From like the start. It wasn't, like a lot of times we've had the clients where they were fine up until the reveal, and then they got angry.
It's not haunted, they get mad. Yeah.
The second he came on filming day, like he was not fun.
No, I remember him. He kept saying that it was silly that we believed in ghosts. People of France do not believe in ghosts. This is dumb. Like, it's like, how do we get this guy? Like, what is the deal here? And he kept referring to himself. He kept referring to himself as an audiophile, And I remember Rob and I were trying to prevent ourselves from chuckling because it kept sounding like he was saying he was a pedophile. And we're like, why does he keep saying these horrible things? But it was awful. Awful.
Well, we didn't know him that well, so who knows?
Dear God. But his audio clip was garbage. Like, it was just
it was complete trash.
Yeah.
And which is funny because, you know, he's like making fun of us for being a ghost show, but then he had a piece of audio that he thought was a ghost.
Right. But he couldn't figure out was not. Oh, I remember Joe Chin laughing at his own self because he kept trying to position himself in front of graffiti that had naughty words written on it, which was one of his things that he liked to do all the time, like just create extra work for the editors. Like, they're going to blur that out, Joe. Just stand somewhere else. But he'd still do it. And then on evidence review, he thought it would be hilarious.
Oh,
Classic
Joe.
Joe Chin.
I do remember we went down there, and because of the humidity and it was like probably 63 degrees or something. Like, it was.
I love that you always know the temperature. It's like 20 degrees there. It's like 63, partly cloudy that day.
I felt like 65 was like overshooting it, and then I felt like 60.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. It was probably 63.
Yeah.
But what about the humidity? Why are we talking about temperature?
No, well, so all of our cameras, all of our handy cams and stuff kept fogging up, and it took forever to like be able to actually shoot anything.
Yeah, we have them activate. Yeah. That was so tough.
We deepened. There was a green mist. That was the claim. I think.
Yeah, we had this audio file and this green mist, which was like a chemical thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was like limestone or something down there that they were mining, and like the claim was if you saw the green mist you would die. Well, right. Yeah, if you saw the green mist, that means it's poisoning you.
Yeah, it was like chlorine mist or something. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The guy was a bear to work with for sure. I don't know where they found him.
Yeah, sometimes the clients were really friendly. Like, I remember the guy at the one of the first cases we talked about, the gingerbread house there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was super lovable.
Everything was haunted.
Yeah, everything was haunted, but he was a great guy. You enjoyed being around him, you know. Or I don't think we've done this one yet, but Castle Husko with Ty McGee from Texas. Like, fantastic.
With the coat cape.
Yep. Like, some of these people are awesome and a lot of fun, and then you get these others like real stick in the mud, like you're being paid to be here and you're miserable on top of it. Like, how did this come together? But that was, he was a tough one. I didn't care for him very much at all, and I always try to find the best in people, but he was very difficult. There's like one of my top 2 least favorite clients that we had to deal with on camera. So
well, I think you had just missed we went to Jamaica, I think, right after, like, the case after you left.
Yeah. One time you guys get to have rum instead of wine, and I don't get to go.
But that was another one where she was not happy.
No.
We debunked everything at that place, and she was great until that moment. So it happens.
Yeah, it just goes the wrong way. I remember sometimes, like, you know, everything would be fine. You explain things, and then they get angry. It's like, well, it is what it is, you know. And so I remember Keeley's Castle or whatever it was in Malaysia, and like it was raining. And we like ducked in this office that was not part of the tour, and they already had brochures there and posters for, you know, come see Keeley's Castle as seen on Ghost Hunters International, most haunted location. And we're like, we didn't even do anything here yet, you know? And then like, it was great because the place was a bust. So it was awesome. But I remember liking the day, like in Paris, like we went to see the Eiffel Tower at night, went to the Arc de Triomphe. I remember going to a carousel where they gave us like these little leather tickets to go on the carousel, like I wish I still had that. I wish I didn't go on the carousel, but just kept that leather ticket because it was so awesome. That was great. I remember eating baguettes because I like bread. I did not like the actual catacombs. I didn't last 10 minutes down there. It was so like emotionally overpowering for me.
Yeah, that was, so when we when we did, like we said, we always tried to do some kind of group outing, even if it wasn't filmed. So we did do Paris in like 4 hours at night.
Yep.
We're like literally running through the city, like jogging, pointing at things.
Right. Look at that.
But we went on, so you guys did the carousel. I was there, but I was like off the carousel taking pictures of all of you. So I have all of those pictures. But then I don't know, did you go up into the wheel with Barry and I? Or was that Angela that went up?
I think that was Angela. I think I went to the one in London. I went to the London Eye. I didn't go to the one in France, in Paris.
Okay, yeah. So some of us did the Ferris wheel, and you could see like the Eiffel Tower, and it's cool because when it gets dark out, the Eiffel Tower does a light show. A lot of people don't know it like lights up and it like has sparkles and
I
it's
remember
really
that.
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, Paris is definitely a city to see at night. That's why it's called the City of Lights, just because it's beautiful at night. During the day, it's a lot like London or New York or, one of the other places. There's a lot of graffiti and a lot of just...
Right. Nighttime's wonderful there. It's really cool.
It's very cool. I was sad that I didn't go into Notre Dame at the time. Now, in retrospect, because it's like mostly burned down. But I remember taking pictures of pigeons outside, and Joe Chin kept chasing down the pigeon.
Joe Chin thinking he's Rocky all of a sudden. I love him to death, but he wasn't in the best shape then. He's not going to catch a pigeon. Maybe a wounded one or just see, but a real moving pigeon, no. I did go into the cathedral, and I didn't stay very long. I remember coming out, and I walked out of the front doors of the cathedral, and Barry was standing there. He didn't want to go inside. And I came over to him. He's like, Mr. P, did you find him in there? I'm like, what do you mean, Barry? God, is he in there? I said, no, it's just a lot of gold and stuff. Like, it just didn't feel, it felt like very commercial, And like the cathedral itself is beautiful for sure. But like, I didn't feel like the spiritual connection there, Like, I think we mentioned, I don't know if we even did Malaspina yet, but the little church I found my way into on a day off in Malaspina, I felt like a real like spiritual connection. Notre Dame, I was like, wow, this is great. It's Notre Dame. But I didn't feel like, they had a closer relationship with the Almighty than any other place I'd been to.
No, I think they have a closer relationship to tourism.
Yeah, and rightfully so. It was a gorgeous place. It's horrible that it's in ruins, but fantastic to see for sure. I remember seeing the gargoyles and all that kind of stuff. It was really cool. That was awesome. That was
I have the picture of you eating the baguette.
Dear Lord.
I do. I remember that.
I'm a boy. I would love to see the carousel pictures. I don't have the carousel pictures.
Yeah, I think I have some of those actually. So when I
remember having one, I don't know if I took it or Barry took it. There was one of just the ticket that I'm obsessed with for some reason. Yeah, maybe it's better in my mind anyway. Who knows? Probably just said admit one and had a picture of a horse.
Oh yeah, I have the picture of Joe Chin getting trampled by that statue of the horse that was right next to the carousel.
That's right. Joe was always up for a fun photo or something remotely naughty. Like he was that guy.
I feel like, I don't know, was it in Paris or maybe it was in Latvia? I think it was in Paris though. They had like this weird, it was almost like a playground or something, and it had like, you walked into it and it had like weird like computer screens, and it was very like technical, industrial. It was weird.
It was Latvia.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
I don't know. I just remember
a rabbit. There was also a mascot of a rabbit for some reason.
And there was like a big silver ball.
Mm-hmm. I remember silver ball.
But I just remember Joe Chin, like, I have so many crazy pictures of him, like, messing with this stuff. It was just so funny. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Paris was cool. Like, I enjoyed going to the catacombs. I enjoyed seeing the city at night. And no offense to like the people that I've gotten to know that are from France, because they're really great people and I know. And so I know they exist. It's just in my experience having been there, I found that a lot of them they weren't the friendliest of people most of
I
the
remember
time.
we waited for about a half hour to get in a restaurant, and then we realized that they just weren't going to seat us.
Yeah.
They kept seating other people that would just show up.
Yep.
And then we were like, okay, this isn't for, it was just a bad experience at some places, you know, but,
Well,
you
we're stupid Americans, as they
yeah,
say.
there's good and bad people everywhere we go. I remember being in the catacombs, and like I said, I didn't last like 10 minutes there because it just became emotionally overwhelming for me. Like it's, for anybody who hasn't been, like there's rows and rows of bones that are like, you know, some places anywhere from 4 to 6 feet high and like 12 to 20 feet deep, and just rows and rows of them. And I was like, it just, you know, I took like an obligatory picture, and then I was like, these were all people that lived and like struggled to get by and then died this awful way. Like it's just too much. And I remember we were one of the first groups through, and as I was walking out, the girl's like, "Oh, I just need to pat you down." I'm like, "For what?" And then she gestured to the corner, and there was a pile of bones that people were trying to sneak out. And I remembered seeing like some of our American citizen friends, not people that we actually traveled with, but just other American tourists, picking up skulls and taking pictures with them. I'm like, that's somebody's remains. Like, that's not cool at all, you know? And
No,
to
it's
think
totally desecration. Yeah.
yeah, and to think that somebody was trying to steal one of these, like, what the heck are you gonna do with that? Like, why would you take that? You know?
Right.
That
Yeah. A souvenir. Look what I got. I went
yeah,
to I went to Paris, and all I got was this lousy skull of some poor peasant that lived
right.
300 years ago.
Died from the plague. It was,
Well, they actually say that Marie Antoinette's bones are most likely somewhere down among all of them.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm really I'm happy that we went. I mean, it was interesting for historical purposes, but it also put things into like perspective. And then, when like COVID hit and everyone's like, it's the plague, like people were
Right.
freaking out. And
Yeah.
I don't think I was the only one to have that momentary like thought in my head, like, where are we headed to with this
I
thing?
remember seeing on the news one night when it was really hitting Italy hard, and seeing the army trucks filled with bodies. I was like, oh
Yeah,
my God. And that's the first thing I thought of was the catacombs. I'm like,
yeah,
this is just too much to handle, you know?
right.
Just really, really tough.
Well, it's crazy too because they have when you enter into the catacombs, you have to descend this spiral, really rickety, small, narrow spiral staircase to get all the way down there. And they ask you like at the door, like, you don't have heart problems, do you? And it's
Right.
because of all the positive ions that are down there that have actually affected people to where they've actually had physical reactions to being down there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just remember I was like 10 minutes in, I could not find my way out fast enough. And I just kept walking by everything, just looking down. It was overpowering to me, but just the emotional portion of it. But
Right.
but above ground was much nicer, and I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed eating as always, and I had my bath, so everything was good.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10 for France as a whole, where would you mark it?
Ooh, we're introducing new things.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's do it, even if we never do it again. You know, the location of the chateau was fantastic. The catacombs was just the catacombs is just underground was kind of awful. But you know, the food and the wine and the sightseeing, like you know, I have to average in the horrible other case. So I'm going to say 8.5. You know what? I'm going to bump it up to a 9 because of the tub.
Wow, you are feeling generous.
Well, it's not just about ghosts and spirits. It's about taking care of myself. Self-care is very important, and it's the last goddamn good bathtub I've ever sat in. So yes, I'm bumping it up to a 9.
I'm
Bring us
going with
right
a
down to
6.
reality, Brandy. What is
I'm
it?
going with a 6.
There you go. Well, just turn it upside down. As above, so below. How perfect for this episode, Brandy.
It's so true. Hey, maybe that should be the title.
There we go. That could be it. As above, so below. Cleavage and butt cracks. Ah,
Okay, we're going
take us
off the
home,
rails
Green.
like normal.
Yeah, take us home, Mama.
Thank you for tuning in again. For those of you that have stuck with us so far, like, we applaud you.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
a strange ride. Thanks for joining us once again.
All right. So that concludes France. Until next time, I'll see you then, Dustin.
All right. Take care, Greenie.
That may have been a different location because I think there wasn't really. I don't know. I think we all.
We all did? Yeah. I liked it, though. I remember I liked the chateau. And I remember the other place, the client was very difficult at the underground.
Yes, and you could
Yeah.
see it on camera.
Yeah, it was awful.
He
It
was
was
pissed
god awful.
off like the whole time. It wasn't
Yeah.
just because like we debunked his piece of audio he had. He was just
Right.
crabby from like the moment he came in.
Yeah, it was awful.
I
Yeah.
don't know where they found that guy.
I don't know, but they could put him back. We should keep that bit in. That's good stuff.
Do you remember these fairly well, or?
I remember one of my biggest disappointments happens because of the chateau, because when you guys were in the little cave area underneath, there was like a loud growl, but when they played it on TV, it was like really soft and dumb.
What's wrong with you, Dustin?
I don't know. We can talk about that though.
Barry had that strange experience in his bedroom where he because we filmed overnight.
Yeah.
And he had his camera set up on like a timer on manual, and the picture kept getting darker and darker, like it was being drained, and then all of a sudden it got bright again, and above him was like a weird mist in bed.
I do remember a mist, yeah.
And there's a lot of technical issues, like a lot of equipment was failing and having weird malfunctions.
Right.
So we deemed it haunted.
Rocking and rolling all night long.
Do you want to intro this one?
Ooh, France. There it is.
The end.
Yeah, I miss you, Brandy Green. This is great.
Oh, man.
All right. Okay. Let's rock it. You ready?
Yep.